And if we right click and split, we should be able to split, and that works. Hey there, I'm your host Lesawi, and this is part 19 of our inventory series. In today's video, we will be creating the split slider. So that said, let's begin. Let's start by going to the content drawer, our inventory system, and the inventory component. Now inside, we want to create a new function called a split slot function. And inside, we want two inputs. We want one for the index and one for the split quantity. Once we've got that, I want to get the item slots and get a copy of the index. So to get it, we can just do index, and this is the same thing, just without any lines being dragged across. We then will split this open because we want to promote both of these to a local variable, item ID, and again, local underscore item quantity. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to do a sequence, and on 0 we'll have the code, and on 1, when everything's done, we'll update the inventory. So I want to first check if the split quantity is not equal to the local item quantity and Boolean. And I also want to check if the local item quantity is not equal to 1. So that's the condition. This goes there. And the next branch, so be left mouse again. This will be for any slots available. We need space in order to add it first. And if that's the case, we'll do add to new slot, get in our item ID. Our quantity is going to be get split quantity. And now the index will come from the available index that's given to us here, if we do have an available index. If not, then we don't have space. And once this is done, I want to do this again for the other slots. So we'll do rename new slot and alt slot. So in here, the index is going to be get index. There we go. And the item quantity is going to be the local item quantity minus the split quantity. So get split quantity. And that's going to be the amount in here. So let's save that and compile and save. Next, let's open up the UI folder, and we want to open up the item slider. So let's do that. And in the event graph, I want to create a new variable called isSplitting. And we'll make this instance editable and exposed on spawn. Next, I'll add a new function called isSplittingSlot. In here, I just want to get a sequence. We'll do a branch, get isSplitting as the condition on 1 or 0. We then will get the drop text. And instead of saying drop, we'll do set text to say split. And then 1 will have a return, and I want to return this condition here. Okay, so let's compile and save. Back inside of the event graph, we then want to update our drop button. So in here, before we do anything, I want to check is splitting a slot. We'll grab a branch. And if that's the case, if false, we'll just remove from inventory. And then we want to remove from parent as well, so the widget goes away. And if that's not the case, we then get the inventory and do split slot. And everything else should be the same. So index is index, and item quantity is the split quantity. Select all of those, right click, alignment, left, and there we go. And again, just remove from inventory, remove from parent at the very end. And let's compile and save that. Next, let's go ahead and open up the item tool widget. Inside here, we want to go to the event graph, and let's create a new function called onSplitSlider. And inside here, we'll create a widget, which we want to be our item slider. We'll make sure this is splitting, and then we'll just connect the inventory component and the index. There we go. Oops. Like so. And at the very end, we'll promote to a variable wb underscore split slider, and we'll add to viewport. And let's compile and save. Next, we need to go ahead and update our on action clicked function. So let's open this up, and on split, we'll do on split slider like so. And there we go. So let's compile and save that. Next, we'll go ahead and create a mechanic that allows us to use items while they are in the hotbar. So for that, we'll go to the content drawer, inventory system, UI, and hotbar display. Now on the event graph, we want to create a new variable, which will be of type integer, and we'll just call it our hotbar index. We'll set that after the for each loop, and this value will come from here, like so. And let's compile and save that. Next, we'll go ahead and create a new function called getItemTool. In here, we'll get our hotbar UI, we'll get our inventory component. We're going to get the item slots from that inventory component. We'll get a copy of the hotbar index. Let's then break this open. We only need the item ID, so we can hide the item quantity. We'll create a widget, which is going to be our item tool. Now we need the item ID coming from here. The index is the hotbar index, and the inventory component is our inventory component from here. And let's connect that. And okay, let's see what's left. Then at the back, we want to return the widget. So I'll just call this guy the WP underscore item tool widget. And I think that's okay. So let's compile and save. Back inside of the event graph, we want to then grab an input. So I'll just use keyboard Q. Now, of course, you could go ahead and use any key you want. I'll just use this, and we'll do again, hotbar UI. We'll get the inventory component, get item slots, and we'll do a for each loop. So for each loop, we'll break this open and see if the item ID is not equal to 0. Let's hide the item quantity. And if that's true, and we'll do and boolean, and the condition is that the array index is equal to the hotbar index. If that's the case, go ahead and use the item. So get item tool function we just made, and we'll do on use like so. And let's compile and save. One more thing before we test this, let's open up the content drawer, go into our inventory component, and in the drop function, get drop location, get owner, replace this with get player character, like so. And we'll compile and save that. Let's go ahead and test this now. So if I go and pick up some items, I should be able to split them, and split we can, so that works. We also have the 0 problem. So for that, let's go into our content drawer, inventory system, UI, item slider, and on the designer, if you click on it, just make sure that the item slider, the minimum value is set to 1. Otherwise, you'll have 0 as an option. So compile, save, play again. Now we don't have any zeros working and we don't. That's nice. So this is it for the video. In the next episode, we will be creating the equipment slot. With that said, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, and as always, happy developing.